It's time to create a profitable, scalable, and sustainable studio for yourself and your students. Welcome to Dance Studio Empire. I'm Jen, dance studio owner for 30 years, running multiple locations with over 1,000 students, dance business coach turned mastermind mentor for dance studio owners, creatives, and leaders like you. I know you're committed to growing your studio and creating the time and financial freedom you most want, while also being the best in the industry with a reputation to match. I've coached hundreds of studio owners who have grown to 250, 500, and over 1,000 students using my signature studio scaled method. And in this podcast, I'll give you the clarity, strategy, and CEO mindset to help you do the same. Let's dive in. Welcome back, fam, to this week's episode of the Dance Studio Empire podcast. And I am very excited to introduce our guest today. Now, I'm sure you know this name. If you're in the industry anywhere, you will know of Josephine Lancuba. I am so thankful that you're here today. Thank you for giving up your time. I know you're a super busy woman, but really appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And, we've had some chats on online, so it's really good and we've met a couple of times at different events. So it's great to connect and have a proper conversation because it's always been really quick passing. Hi, how are you? Blah, blah. So it's wonderful to actually have a conversation, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, isn't it, how you meet fleetingly and we only have to see each other once a year, but it still feels like you have this connection. So as I said, really appreciate you. Now, you are known as performing arts business coach, speaker, talent manager, and mentor in the industry. You're one busy woman. How are you going right now?
Yeah, it's a crazy time at the moment. I had my studio for 10 years. Prior to that, I was an artist as well. So, I've been in the industry for over 2 decades. And right now, I'm so focused on, building my coaching clients and really connecting with them. So it's been busy. I just said to you before we hit record, I'm so exhausted after Easter. I had to take Easter Tuesday off too. So I'm just in the throes of it at the moment, but I'm really excited because there's a lot of exciting things coming up, which I know we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I would love if you could let our listeners know just about your journey growing up. So I just love hearing your experiences, your memories of like being in the studio or whatever it was for you. Would you be happy to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience is not necessarily the typical experience. I mean, I started dance when I was very, very young. My older sisters were into it as well. But, there was a lot of turmoil in the house, broken home. There was, incidents of domestic violence and stuff like that. And I'm really open in sharing this sort of a story because I think it's important to have these conversations. But I had so many breaks in my performing arts education due to that turmoil. So it wasn't like, oh, I got to experience ballet and I continued. It wasn't like that. I'd do a year and then for some reason I'd have to stop. And then something else happened and then I'd have to stop. And then I'd go back to it and then I had to stop. So my childhood wasn't that beautiful flow. What I do recall though is because there was a point where things were not great, and I really did have to fend for myself a lot as a young person. I was very fortunate to have a beautiful woman called Karen McLean. She gave me a scholarship in her studio when I was about, I'd say, 11 or 12. My sister worked there as a dance teacher. So up until that point, my education in the arts was very hot and cold. It just was. And then when I was 11 or 12, which some would argue is past that date of where you get that technique and that sort of, especially in ballet. But, for me, I was fortunate. I had this scholarship. I was able to continue my education from that tween to teen years, which was so great. And then I ended up, being that kid in school who did all the musicals and was in every single program, whatever I could get my hands on, the school bands, like whatever. But by the time I finished school, I went out into the world and I tried to make it. I went into full-time college, which I had to pay for and do, working multiple jobs at $10 an hour, waiting on tables, working the cloakroom at the local nightclub or whatever I could do. And I just did it and I loved it. I did a year of full-time here in Sydney, but also a year of full-time in Melbourne. I would have probably stayed in Melbourne. To all the Melbourne friends out there, I love Melbourne. I would have stayed there. I actually love the vibe of Melbourne, except it's a bit cold.
Oh, 100% way too cold. I find Sydney's
So
too cold.
I had to come back to Sydney. So yeah, then I was a young adult in Sydney, did the typical starving artist mentality thing, waited on tables for years trying to make it, got the gigs, was working on weekends. I'm a singer as well. So I did mostly predominantly vocal work, had choreography work, some dance, but most of my work was through my vocal and acting. And then I ended up, doing that for many years. I then went into studio ownership. So that was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now. And I had 2 kids. It was that sort of part of my life. I remember the last gig I did was a singing gig. It was a duo gig and it was out in the middle of Whoop Whoop, as they normally are. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning and I was 4 months pregnant. And I was so tired. And I just thought, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. It wasn't much, it doesn't pay much. I don't even think the rates have gone up since then. And so, I was just tired of it, moved on to my business side and which is what I love. People say, oh, it's like that saying, those who can't do teach and all that. It's not true. I mean, I loved teaching. I had a great teaching career. I loved running my studio. I, was in talent management as well. I had experience working for an organization, providing work for artists. So I've had a real scope of that entertainment industry. I've literally produced shows, been behind the scenes, been on stage. And so that sort of brought me to where I am today, which is that I'm able to teach others how to do it and how to thrive in the performing arts industry, whether that's studio ownership or whatnot. But talent management, etc. Yeah, I've just had so much experience in that space and I've really been in it, in the trenches of it. Like I totally understand it from both the performer's perspective, the educational perspective, the studio perspective, So that's a long-winded answer to what you've asked, but that's really my journey from there to now.
Yeah. Well, look, I love that. And that's why our listeners really enjoy hearing that because it's so different for all of us. And, we talk about the journey to where we get, but then we also talk about being able to pivot or being able to evolve. And, I think you're just showing them that it can happen and it's all good. I would love to go more into the talent management side of things. It's quite a foreign concept to me. It's something I'm not across. And so, yeah, if you're happy to share about that, I know you definitely have a signature course that, studio owners can, yeah. So would you just tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so basically what happened in 2020, we all know there was a pandemic. And the thing was, most studios were inactive during that time, right? Because there was lockdowns and we couldn't operate. But what I was experiencing was the fact that my in-house talent agency was still operational. Because if you think about it, the adverts that you saw in the commercials on television, they didn't stop rolling. So, I mean, there's more to talent management than just commercial work, but commercial work was very prominent in that period because people weren't able to run classes, produce work, etc., live shows. And what I was receiving was what's called rollovers. Now, rollovers is when someone's in a contract, let's say someone's in a McDonald's commercial, and they film something, they get a fee for a 12-month allowance for that to be aired, right, on TV or wherever. And when that contract ends, if the company wants to reuse that commercial again, it's called a rollover, and you get paid for rollovers quite well. And so what I was getting during COVID was rollover fees from the artists that had previously booked work. And I remember thinking, wow, this is great. And then I thought, more people really need to know about this. Why aren't more? Because I saw my peers suffering.
Yeah.
And I was suffering too. We all were. But I had this little honeypot, and that was my rollover money. And the artists were getting rollover money. And I loved that. And so that's when I decided that I needed to create something to teach people about how to run an in-house talent management service. And that's where Talent Manager Bootcamp came about. So I teach studio owners how to represent their students in film, television, theatre, commercial, on stage, and more. Because it's not rocket science when you know how. It's just, I think people don't consider it as an additional revenue stream or part of a studio business. It just made sense to me because I think for too long, the entertainment industry has had a bit of a glass ceiling on it. You know, like, I mean, I love the show Dance Life on Prime. I've got my bonus series that I'm doing on my podcast at the moment, but even that, you know, it's make or break in these sorts of institutions, you know, and we feel like it's an elite offer. But I believe that talent is everywhere. And we as studio owners have nurtured and cultivated and developed these emerging artists. And they're not just in the big cities, and they're not just in the elites. And I say elite in inverted commas, by the way, elite studios. They're everywhere. They're regional. They're in that little, you know, little Jenny's dance school with 20 people in it, has a little star in there that absolutely can book a commercial or be on stage professionally or be in a feature film. They're just not discovered because they don't know how and they don't have the opportunity. I'm very passionate about it, as you can tell. But my goal, really, when I created Talent Manager Bootcamp, was to break the glass ceiling on the entertainment industry and make the arts accessible to anybody who wants to be a part of it. That's it. So that's what I do. That's it. That's what I do, Jen.
I love that. And so, so studio owners can reach out to you about that and just find out more. Is it a course that they do over a certain period of time, or is it?
Yeah. So Talent Manager Bootcamp is an 8-week course, but it's actually only launched a couple of times a year. However, funnily enough, I am running a one-on-one talent manager intensive program at the moment for people that want to do it privately and not in a group setting and wait several months for the next launch to come about for the course. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely reach out. I mean, I'm all over socials, guys, so you can find me and send me a DM. But yeah, I just think we need to have more access in the place that people learn to do their craft. It makes sense. I also think that studio owners are really missing out because when somebody, and people have this thing where they think they have to be at a particular level to be a professional. It's not 100% true. For dance, of course, there's skill that you need, but when it comes to commercial, like any studio can run a commercial agency in-house. Any studio, I don't care what anyone says. Any studio can run a commercial agency in-house. Then, of course, there are tiers of skill, like someone who's a very skilled dancer will be able to go for that gig. Someone who is a skilled vocalist can go for the lead role in The Lion King. Not everyone can. We get that. But everybody can have an opportunity to be in the industry at some level. So yeah, I just think that access needs to be available, and it's just about knowing how.
Oh, look, absolutely. And as I said, this is quite foreign to me, but it excites me in the way that a studio owner who, you know, could be surrounded by 10, 15, 20 other studios, this could actually be something that makes them stand out. They're offering something different to everybody else as well. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, and it's not, yeah, because I say, look, it increases your revenue, sure, but what it actually does, it increases your industry credibility. and it increases your student retention.
Yeah.
Because here's the other bit, you know, like usually studios will lose their students once they age out of a program. Like, you know, they become seniors or you may not have a senior program at all, or they become seniors and then they age out, and then, you know, not everyone offers adult classes, or even if they are adults, you know, they don't really necessarily move on. So my idea is that retention looks different with an agency. So you can represent anyone. You can represent babies to grandmas, right? So if someone ages out of your program, you can still keep them as a client. They're just in your agency. So it's a different form of retention. And so I think that that's a really exciting and new, fresh idea on how to continue servicing those people that you've again developed and nurtured through the studio.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, studio owners, just educate yourself on this, because I think it is really a smart avenue to head down. But you'll be able to find out the information. Like Josephine said, she's all over socials, so she's easy.
At
She stands out
Josephine
with all the bright colors, and you're an expert at reels. I just have to say, I look up to you, I admire you. Now, look. We've spoken before, and I would love to share. You're planning something really exciting for International Dance Day. It is your Studio Biz Summit, which is a dance summit that you are facilitating, and I would love for you to share about that.
So this is really fun. So Jen is going to be one of our guest industry speakers at Studio Biz Summit. This is an online event, and it is in celebration of International Dance Day, but it's about the business of dance. It's about the business of being a studio owner, and we've got 6 incredible speakers. Those speakers are each going to have different topics which they're going to present on, everything from growth, marketing, mindset. We've got a real array of different things being on offer. I'm going to talk about how to, you know, create your own professional performance company, which doesn't have to be necessarily an agency setting. We're talking about actually, you know, getting paid for having your artists, your students and artists out there in the world performing in the community. So, you know, there's a whole array of it, but it's really exciting because with all of these incredible speakers, I sometimes think, and it's interesting because you're like, oh, people will know my name. I'm the opposite. I think, oh my God, everyone must know Jen Dalton. It's funny. It's perception, right?
For sure.
But I reached out to people that I thought would have would add great value to the event. We've got, I'm just rambling off the top of my head. Sorry if I forget you. So yes, Jen, myself, we've got Christine Denny, we've got Jane Gretsch, we've got Sally Prendergast, who's going to be doing marketing. We've also got Kerry Power. But yeah, so we've got a wonderful lineup of speakers and all industry experts in the field of studio business. And I'm really excited about it. So it's going to be a one-day event online. We want to encourage people to come along and be there live, obviously, to get the most value from it. But at the end of the day, it is also being recorded. So if you are registering for the event, you will receive the recordings. But we do encourage live attendance, of course. But yeah, I'm excited. I just wanted to do something that really not only celebrated International Dance Day, but also supported studio owners in their growth at the moment. We know as well with the current marketplace, and people are really concerned about inflation, the effect it's having on their business. I think it's important to connect, you know, support and come together, especially in times like this. Because I think there's a lot of concern out there in the market at the moment. I'm seeing it a lot right now. So I wanted to do something that was really accessible, just to give back and hopefully get some wonderful people on board, and yeah, a great experience for those who attend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really great initiative, and hopefully, and I believe it's going to be an accessible price point too. Like it's not going
Oh,
to be,
$27, guys. Like we're talking super accessible. This is not a, yeah, this is a cost cover. We're here actually genuinely celebrating International Dance Day with you. We're here to, open up our hearts and minds and really give what we know, um, in the hopes that it supports our community. That's absolutely what it's about. This is not a huge ticket price. This is a no-brainer. This is like going to Macca's. If this is the new Macca's price, I swear the other day I went to KFC. Sorry, I'll go on
yeah,
tangent.
no, good.
I went to KFC and I'm like, my kids wanted Guzman. I'm like, I'm not going to Guzman. It's going to cost me $100. I'm not going to Guzman,
Yep.
the Mexican place. We're going to go to KFC, right? And it ended up costing me $50 something. I said, since when does KFC
Yeah.
cost $50 something? And I just thought, oh well, that's ridiculous. So this is less than that again.
Yes. And the value that they're going to get is
Oh,
incredible. I
you
mean,
can't compare it. We're talking about a couple of $1,000s at least in value. If you were to book a private session with Jen or with me or with any of these guys, it would cost you literally, hundreds, if not thousands. So to be able to access all 6 of these incredible speakers for $27, it's a no-brainer.
yeah. So
Yeah.
exciting. And the fact it's online too makes it so much easier
Oh,
for people to be able
totally.
to jump in. So we appreciate you organizing that. Now, for people to book tickets or the link, could you just quickly give us the link? I will also post it in our show notes, but just
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hosted on my website, which is josephinelancuba.com/summit. Can I tell you a funny story about that? I was
please.
concerned about doing a /summit because I thought, can people spell summit? Is it double M? Is it double T? But what
Yeah.
I've come to learn is that it's SUMMIT. So josephinelancuba.com/summit. But yeah, Jen, you'll pop a link in the show notes and everyone can jump on board. We're going to be launching, that will be launched by the time this comes out, and hopefully we can spread the love on socials as well and get everyone on board.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And it really does come back to something that I speak about a lot, and I'm sure you believe too, is just that power of collaboration, that in an industry which is large but still quite small, I think collaboration is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think there's a competitive nature in what we do, but I don't really buy into that. So I absolutely believe in abundance. I think there's enough room for everyone. And I think as studio owners, it's important to remember that too.
Yep.
There's someone for everyone, and it's okay to come together in a room and have an honest conversation about our businesses, and not be in fear of who's in the room and who's listening. I think that the tides are changing. I think that there are more collaborative experiences available now for studio owners to come together.
Yep.
I think we are shifting from a competitive space to a collaborating community space, which I'm really all for. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it is really exciting. Now, a question that I ask my guests, and I didn't prep you, and I'm sorry, but I just would love to know who's inspiring you at the moment. Now, this doesn't have to be industry related. It could be on social media, podcasts, books you're reading. I just would love to know who's inspiring you.
Oh gosh, there's so many. But so I have a bit of a mentor. Tina Tower is my mentor, and I do love her stuff. It is very much about online business, but I'm all about it. There is also I'm in a book club at the moment. Well, actually, I created the book club because I've always dreamt of having a book club, so I just created one. And I invited a whole bunch of entrepreneurial women. And I have to say, that room, that Zoom room, every month, I live for it. I love the book club. I think creating a group of business besties is so inspiring because they're all just real, and we're all in different industries. I mean, we've got an alcohol counselor, we've got me, studio business. We've got a solicitor, we've got an artist, a graphic designer. Like, I don't actually think it matters about what business we're in, but we all come together, and it's not just about the books. Yes, we read books, but it's about conversation and connection. And I think those conversations with other women really inspire me. But yeah, Tina Tara is my mentor. I do love her stuff from her Empire Builder. And I'm actually going to one of her retreats this April, actually, in the Gold Coast. So yeah, that's who I'd say inspires me. Oh, what inspires me too is that connection piece with other women. That really inspires me as well.
Great answer. I love it. Now, people can also find you at DTE. You're going to Dance Teacher Expo. Is that correct?
I am.
Yeah.
You know, I was there last year as just a spectator, which you were too, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Took my
Yeah, we saw each other there. I saw you at Victorian Dance Festival as well, didn't I?
Yeah, we
It was on the
flew up.
same
We were there.
weekend.
It was. So we
Holy
were
moly.
in Victoria on the Friday, then we both flew on Saturday up to,
Yes.
to Sydney.
So that was crazy. So yes, I was at VDF on the first day, and I had an expo table there. And then the second day I flew over just to see what DTE was about, because I had considered having an expo stand there. But I will be there actually this year, which interestingly, I'm quite a confident person, but I'm almost a little nervous. So if you see me, come and say hello. Yeah, just come and say hi, because I've never done that event before, and it seems quite big. So yeah, I'm hoping that it will be fine, and people are just going to be lovely and have conversations with me. That's the goal. I'm there to start a conversation. I'll have a couple of free opt-ins and things that you can grab, some freebies at the table, some little gifts and things like that.
Thank you so much for giving us your time today. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of exciting things happening with you at the moment, and to be able to share that with our community is amazing.
Yes.
Again, to sign up for the summit, I will leave the link below to make sure everyone gets access to that. And apart from that, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.